So, Julie, how are you today, honey?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me. So glad we connected.
Yeah, super, super, super happy to have you on and to learn a little bit about you and what you do. And, as a businesswoman, how you got, and as a mom of six, obviously, how you got into this whole business and being a businesswoman, because this is a whole thing about this rise of women right now being or trying to get into the business. So I'm looking forward to ask you some questions.
Great. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's an exciting topic and it's
yeah,
an
it
exciting
is.
time for women because we are starting businesses at like 6 times the rate of men. So this is,
Mm-hmm.
women in entrepreneurship. It's a thing.
Mm-hmm. And I always say too, and I'm like, it doesn't matter the age. I'm going to be 50 this year, and I'm like, it's been a couple years now, but
Yep.
you can start anytime. It doesn't really matter.
It's never
It's
too
never too
late.
late.
And I think we did really see a lot of that during the COVID and the lockdown. You saw a
Mm-hmm.
lot of women who, suddenly started these side hustles or
Mm-hmm.
took their side hustle to the next level. So it is, but you're absolutely right. And I think it's
Yeah.
important to remember that, you're never too old to start something new.
That's it. That's it. So, Julie, could you please share with the audience about your journey, first of all, as a mom of six? Wow.
Yeah.
And how was it, or how were you influenced either by your children, by yourself to basically um, take care of your children and run a business or start a business?
Yeah, I think a lot of moms in particular, they have a profession, then they have kids, and they're like, okay, maybe I need to do a shift. For me, that was what happened. Couple of things, I always say you got to know your why. So two whys at Mabel's Labels. So one was that, along with my co-founders, who's my sister and two friends, we noticed a product missing from the market. We had little kids and we were losing stuff, and we thought, oh, there's got to be something better than masking tape and permanent marker on children's items.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted something durable, we wanted something cute, we wanted something affordable and personalized, and it wasn't out there. So we had this kind of neat idea. We're like, there's something that would be useful to parents. And when
Mm-hmm.
people say, how do you come up with a good idea, I always say, just go through your day, find something that pisses you off and fix it. So I think the idea was the first thing. And then the real catalyst for me was that at the time, my eldest child had just turned 3 and he was diagnosed with autism. So I was, I'm a recovered lawyer. I didn't think the traditional workforce was going to suit me any longer. I really needed to be able to advocate for him, set up a program for him. All the research told me best outcomes were for him would be if a parent was super committed and dedicated to him and his program. So I was like, yeah, okay, decision made. So that's when I said to the gals, hey, we've had this good idea, I need to make a shift, what do you guys think? And they were like, yeah, let's do it. And we didn't look back from there on in. And honestly, I mean, Mac's autism definitely had an impact in starting, but by the time he was diagnosed, he already had two younger siblings. So I was already sort
Mm-hmm.
of thick in the trenches with parenting, and going back after a mat leave would have been probably tricky anyway. So
Yeah.
just funny how all these little things fall into place and then end up changing your life.
What were the key challenges that you found creating your business and having your
Yeah.
children?
Well, I mean, I think for me, probably the biggest challenge was that I really tried to do it all.
Mm-hmm.
I was reluctant to get help. So I think the narrative I told myself was, if I left the traditional workforce to be with my kids and start this business, then I should be able to do that. And the fact of the matter is, you do need help.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned that lesson a little late. I joke, laugh at myself. I got a full time nanny when the fifth child turned 1, and I say that it was 3 kids too late. Because you do need backup, you do need help so that you can bring your best self to everything. And you want to remember, don't want to be so sleep deprived that you forget all of the good things about
Oh yeah,
those
especially
childhood,
us
right?
women, we tend to have our, moments of
Mm,
forgetting. And I know because I'm a mom myself of 3
yeah.
children, And I'm like,
You
I
know that,
lose.
and you're so busy. Like when you're in the thick of it, you're so busy, you're not getting any
Oh
sleep, you're
yeah,
running on empty. There's no, like, what's
yeah,
self-care? No idea what that means back then,
yeah.
right?
So I
So
can
I
kind
think,
of relate to
yeah,
you because I run a daycare for 14 years. So I had my
right.
3 children plus I had 6 children of the day. So it's like having basically 8 children running around
Oh my
constantly
goodness.
between age,
Well,
you know,
y-
1
y-
to age, I don't know, 6 kind of thing.
oh my
So,
goodness. Well, Alex, you laugh because I had neighbors who thought I ran a home daycare, but it was
oh,
just my children. But see, that's a great way. I mean, to do the shift if you're like, okay, well,
yeah.
I want to be home with my kids, but how can I, make a few contributions
Mhm.
financially or what can I, and that's a great pivot to do, right? And I think that's what a lot of, there's that term mompreneur and it gets a
Mhm.
bit of slack sometimes, but sometimes I think, Mabel's Labels actually started as a result of my being a mother.
Mhm.
So, sometimes these shifts do happen because of our parenting. So certainly, I mean, finding balance, getting the help you need is an early challenge. Um, I think also, I talk a lot about how people romanticize entrepreneurship. They think it's
Mhm.
all going to be interviews and TED Talks and book deals and that sort of thing. And it's really not. It's making labels in a basement until 2 a.m., then getting up at 6 a.m. with your kids. And,
Mhm.
it's very, it's a lot of hard work. So, you've got to have an appetite for risk. You've got to have a lot of energy. You've got to have the support. If you have a spouse, they better be on board. You've got to manage expectations of yourself and your family. So
Mhm.
there is a lot to navigate. There are a lot of early challenges. And of course, the biggest early challenge is just that fear that what if I put in all this time and
Mhm.
finance and energy and it just doesn't work out? Like the thought of that is devastating and it keeps people up at night, rightly
Mhm.
so. So I think, battling the challenges of the brain gremlins and the actual physical work that it takes is it's a feat.
Mhm. So would you suggest, like, what would you suggest for women who are either mothers at home,
Mhm.
stay at home moms? Would you
Yeah,
suggest for them that if they have an idea to literally go for it and, go with that actually? Or do you say, wait a minute,
right.
step back and follow certain steps? Like, what would you suggest for them?
Yeah, I would think that you do have to be very realistic about what it's
Mhm.
going to look like. So, if you're a mom, you're not putting the kids to bed and pouring a glass of wine and watching, binging something on Netflix or pulling out your book. Like, none of that is happening. I mean, I couldn't even lie down with my kids for fear of falling asleep and losing 3 hours in the evening, right? So,
Mhm.
you need to really understand what it's going to look like. Again, make sure if you have a spouse or family that they know what it's going to look like. I would say go for it, but make sure that you're able to. I mean, you need to make sure that are you going to be able to afford your mortgage? And for
Mhm.
how long? If you're not bringing in a salary, do you have a spouse? Do they make enough money that you can do this? There sometimes is a little privilege involved with just going for it
Mhm.
because you need to be able to do the other things like pay for daycare or pay for music lessons or buy your kids clothes and food
Right.
and stuff like that. So you do actually have to be realistic and look at your finances. And are you okay with maybe not having a family holiday, not getting a new car, those sorts of things? So I think that really has to be considered. Also, before you just go for it, sit down and do a marketing plan. You can get something online that will help you. You can
Mhm.
go to, there are a lot of like local, sort of business centers that can help you. You can find a mentor that can help you do like some strategic planning, a business plan to see, do some market research to see if it's actually viable. Don't go for something that's not going to work, right? So you want to
Mhm.
make sure that you have a few things, have your ducks in line before you go for it and you're all in. So you want to make sure you've got the support there, that you've checked out your resources, you've done all your research, so that when you do go forward, you have a sense of confidence,
Mhm.
and that you've built a network behind you to support you.
Mm. So basically, ask for help. And I think too, with
100%.
yeah, we as women tend to be like, nope, we're our
Right. And
narrow-minded vision
that is
sometimes.
so true. But at the same time, what we are
Yeah.
good at is networking. And I always
Yeah.
say your network is your net worth, and women are great at relationships. So let's make sure that, you know what? Okay. So if you're starting a business, Do you have a friend in graphics who might be able to help you come up with a logo? Do you have a friend who's an IT person who might be able to make you a website or at least guide you on a best, like who can carry your website? So make sure that you're going out and connecting, because also entrepreneurship can be very, very lonely. So make sure you're going to events, make sure you're joining groups, make sure you're getting the mentor and doing the things. And fortunately, this is something women are good at. So make sure that you use that to your advantage.
Yes, I 100% agree. It's
Yeah.
so important to stay connected with other women and women who support women. I think it's very
Absolutely.
important.
Find the people who rise you
Mhm.
up, right? And will support you.
Mhm.
And the whole thing about saying your name that in rooms you're
Mhm.
not in. And I do find a lot of parallels between parenting and entrepreneurship. Both can be lonely. And the more you do find
Mhm.
support and find community, the better both experiences are going to be.
Yes, 100% agree. What motivated you to become an author?
So, yeah, great question. So, really, it was something that was always on the to-do list because, I've been at this a long time. Mabel's Labels is almost 22 years old, and there are so many lessons that have been learned along the way. And I felt that if I can help out another mom, another entrepreneur, somebody else out there with some of the lessons that I've learned along the way, then why not? So that
Mhm.
was one reason. Another good reason is having a book does position you as an expert, and it gives you, sort of that credibility, and it gives you something to talk about. So you can do a book tour, you can do a book launch party, you can get
Mhm.
interviews, get media. So it is a great way also to create buzz, create good PR around your brand, and around, if you have a personal brand, around that. And I think the third motivation really was that I suddenly had time, because what happened, I mentioned in the beginning how all these women through COVID got side hustles. All of
Mhm.
a sudden, I wasn't flying to do expos or baby shows or speaking at conferences or doing any of that. And I was at home. And all the time that I
Mhm.
saved from flying around and doing what I normally do, I was like, hey, I need to take advantage of this time and use it and be very productive and use it wisely. So if I don't get this book done during this kind of lockdown period, I don't know when I'm going to. So I really, thought, if not now, when? So I,
When?
I took
Mhm.
advantage of that time, and like
Nice.
many women did.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And what message do you hope to convey through your writing?
Yeah, I think like most of what the book has, it's called like a mother, birthing businesses, babies, and a life beyond labels. And I do share a lot of the lessons I learned along the way. And it's full of like mom hacks, business hacks, and life hacks. And, like I said, if I can make the journey a little bit easier for anyone else out there, no point reinventing the wheel. I'm
Mhm.
quite happy to help. So, that was basically the purpose, and that's what it's done. And it's done with humor. A lot of people say they can hear my voice when they're reading it, because it's very me.
Hmm. Yes. Books are awesome. Any other books that you have perhaps coming, something that comes in your mind that
Well,
you might
right
write?
now, yeah, no, I am a one book gal at the moment. I found it's funny because I did find the experience, I found it tough. Like, I've been a writer.
Mm.
Like, I've written articles for like Globe and Mail, Profit Magazine. I'm like a vintage blogger. I was like the mommy blogger 20 years ago.
Mhm.
Before influencers were around, there were some of us whose kids are now in their 20s, who were
Mhm.
doing the mommy blogger thing. So writing has never been the issue. But I always wrote in like 500 words, 1,000 words. Suddenly it's like a book, and that can feel overwhelming. But I did learn to kind of write it in chunks as
Mhm.
topics, and then kind of throw it in a Google Doc, and then kind of puzzle piece it
Mhm.
together. But the process was tricky. And believe me, when it was done, I was like, oh,
It's
that feels
done.
good to have that done. So for now, I can't even think about it. It's only been a couple of years, and I haven't even recorded the audio version of my book yet, but mostly because I'm like, I can't be bothered reading my own words out loud. I don't want to hear my own voice, but
Mm.
it's on the to-do list and I've got to do it.
Mm.
So that'll be my next big thing, is getting the audio book done.
Yeah, that's awesome. Looking forward to have that book in my hands as well, because
Yeah.
having that and kind of remembering these moments, when your kids
Yeah.
were small or little. I mean, there's we women, we're always going to be moms. You know what I mean?
It never
Even
goes
when
away,
you
but it sure
grow,
does change, right? It sure does change.
yeah.
And that's another comparison with business and parenting, I find, is that, in those early days of a startup,
Hmm.
like running a business looked really different to what it looks like now, right?
Yes.
We have 50 full-time employees. Like and just like parenting when they're all babies and toddlers looks really different now when they're teenagers and they're at university and that sort of thing. So again, that comparison of you always have to, like, soon as you think you know what you're doing, you have to
Hmm.
get comfortable being uncomfortable because your business changes and your parenting changes. All the
100%.
stages of parenting and all the stages of business, you're always going
Hmm.
through new ones. So
Hmm.
it's fun, and that makes it fun and exciting, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree. Now,
Yeah.
through your journey in your business and motherhood, what are some of the most important lessons you have learned? And you
Yeah.
can pass on the message to other moms who are
Okay.
trying to get into the business.
Yeah, I think probably my secret sauce has been, you know, my ability to have like really solid perspective. Like
Hmm.
I really don't take myself that seriously. My kids are fine. Everybody's good. Yes, my house is messy. I'm okay with that. I think it's that I actually don't care what people think.
Hmm.
Um, if you came to my house, you're like, oh yeah, it's a bit messy. Yeah, it is. There's a lot of people living here.
Welcome to my
Um,
world. Yes.
yeah, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
So
You
just kind
have
of,
to be
I'm
okay
okay
with
with
it.
it.
Yes.
I'm just okay with it. And I think that's the thing. Like, I
Hmm.
think for moms who are like trying to do everything well, it's okay to lower your standards around certain things. It's
Hmm.
okay not to make perfect dinners. I'm okay with that. And especially like in those early days, or for us, like at Mabel's, when it's back to school season, it is
Hmm.
like, we are getting labels out this door 24/7. It is busy. So guess what? If we're ordering pizza 3 times that week, big deal. Or if
Yep.
you have a new baby and the kids are getting hot dogs twice, or your toddler's on their iPad too much because you have a new baby, don't beat yourself up. You're not in your
Hmm.
best space. You're not your best self. That's all right. You're going to be doing all the right things a little later. Everybody's going to be okay. So cut yourself some slack, I think, is probably the most important thing. And also know what works for you. Like having 6 kids and starting a business is not for everyone,
Hmm.
obviously. So if having 2 kids and starting a business, having no kids and starting a business, having 6 kids and having a secure job that has a pension is your thing, there's no right recipe. You just have to
Yeah.
do what works for you, and not one is better. I'm not a better person because I had 6 kids and started a business. I'm not.
Hmm.
That was just something that worked for me, right? So
Hmm.
you have
Hmm.
to know what works for you and do it, and just go with it.
That's nice. I like that.
Yeah.
I 100% agree, because if not, it's just like with my podcast. When I
Yeah.
started about 2.5 years ago, I kept on telling myself, I got to do it. I got to do it. I got to do it. And I didn't do it. And finally, I was like, why am I not doing this?
Right.
Just go and do it. And, because these limited beliefs that I had in my head saying,
Right.
oh, I probably will sound really bad, or I will look weird, or, I'm Polish and maybe I'll say something wrong. It's just, there was
Right.
so many things going in my head. And at one moment, my friend Jason, he's like, Alex, you have to go and do it. He goes,
And was
even if
that
you,
it for you? Was that like, what was that moment that you were like, screw it, I'm doing it?
that's it.
That was it.
That was it.
Yep.
And I'm like, you know what? I'm doing it because I enjoy it. I'm
Yeah.
doing it because I'm doing it for me. I'm not doing this for anybody else. If someone wants to listen, absolutely great. If
Great.
I can help someone, elevate themselves, or like you said, go and do it. Just go and do it. That's the message, and I
I
think
love that.
that's
And I think a
so
really
beautiful.
important lesson too for women who are starting out, or moms who are starting a business, or want
Mhm.
to start a podcast or write a book or whatever. You have to remember that, stop comparing.
Mhm.
Comparison is the thief of joy. And everything it has a different timeline. And if you're doom scrolling and be like, oh my god, but all of
Yep.
her kids are dressed in white and they're not dirty and her house is clean and her business looks great, remember that in social media you're seeing the highlight reel,
Mhm.
right? And you need to curate perhaps your social media to best manage your mental health. So if you're following somebody and they make you feel bad about yourself, unfollow,
Right.
block, so that you're not tempted, because remember that you're watching their highlight reel and they are different to you. So stop comparing yourself to others and just do your thing for the right reasons. And that,
Yeah.
Alex, I think you
Yeah.
nailed it for you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And no, it's important to follow your own path, not
Yeah.
everybody else's. Like you said earlier, it is what fits you, what is
That's
good
right.
for you and your family, for your
Exactly.
business as well. So I see it, and I appreciate you saying that, because I think that's so important.
Love
Yeah.
that.
What are your future goals for Mabel's labels?
Ooh, yes. Well,
Secrets.
I know it's exciting. I mean, it has been like 22 years, but we're always innovating and we're always creating. And our CX team, our customer experience team, is always taking feedback from our customers. We're continuing to roll out amazing products. We fine tune like certain combo packs. We create fun content. We
Mhm.
build community. We turn up. And that is what we will continue to do. That is our goal, and we love it. We love what we do around here, and
Mhm.
we're just going to continue doing it, because people always say, "Oh, Julie, what about you?" I'm like, as long as I still love what I do, I'm not going to keep doing it. And
Mhm.
for me, my job is so enjoyable because I get to go and talk to people about a product I created
Mhm.
that I love. I get to share my experiences as a parent, as an entrepreneur, as a woman, as a mom, as an autism mom, as a mom of queer kids, all of
Mhm.
it. Like there's so
Mhm.
many parts of me, and it's my job to just go out and share that. And
Mm.
what a joy it is
Mm.
talking to
Oh
people like
yeah,
you, Alex.
yeah. I listen. I'm one of your customers about 15 years
Oh,
ago, because
oh,
I, as a mom, was the same thing. I'm like, my kid
yeah.
is going to school. What am I going to do? I didn't want to use markers, and same thing. The kids constantly
Mhm.
lost something. So when I came across your product, I was like, ding, 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 hello.
Oh, that's awesome.
I loved it. And then again, with the three kids, everybody had their own names. They
Yeah,
chose their little
they love that.
logos. One had a choo-choo train, the other one had a
Yeah,
princess, and the other one had, I can't remember, I think it was a pirate.
I love it.
We've used it for years,
And
and
it's interesting, Alex. I think you bring up a good point around, because you said earlier, like, what made it, what lessons did you learn? And I think like
Mhm.
one also was really knowing your market. And I think we had the advantage of being our market, like we were
Mhm.
young moms who were tired of kids losing things, just like you were, Alex, just like our
Yeah.
other. And we were like, okay, well, we know how moms purchase things. We know who our mom is. She's educated.
Mhm.
She's this age. We had a profile of what she buys expensive things for her kids that she doesn't want lost.
I
She,
was about to say that, spending so
right?
much money a pair of
I
gloves, and you're like,
know.
you come home with one glove.
I know. And we're like a cheap insurance policy. Buy some labels and your kid's stuff is going to come back.
Yeah.
So, knowing our market and knowing how we like to be marketed
Yeah.
to showed us that it was important for us to build community. It was important for word of mouth or word of mom. It was important for us
Mhm.
to be in the blogging space, to get on social media, because that's where moms were talking about us and spreading the Mabel word.
So back then, 22 years ago, like you said, the internet has changed so much,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
how did you go from word of
Oh,
mouth or
you're right.
your website to now where you are right now? Because I assume you're global. You're not only set
Yeah.
up in Canada.
Yeah.
How was that transition for you?
That is such a great question, because, like you say, like when we started 22 years ago, we were an e-commerce business, right? And
Mhm.
there were people who are still at that time a little bit nervous about putting the Visa number into the computer machine, but we certainly didn't have social media. But moms talk about products that we love and hate like it's our full-time job, and they did. They were talking about Mabel's labels at the daycare drop-off, at the
Mhm.
side of the at the ballet recital, wherever moms were, they were talking about our products. And at the time, we were doing things like trying to get a lot of PR. We got into Canadian Living magazine. We got featured on Daily Candy Kids. So that sort of
Mhm.
getting the word out was really important then. And then when social media hit, And, the mom blog was happening. Then we were getting into mom blog communities. I've been going to Mom 2.0 for 19 years for, connecting with moms who are online, because that was those early days of influencers. Moms trust people, not nameless, faceless brands. So they'll buy something that Alex recommends, but not something that billboard recommends. That's how moms make their purchasing decisions. So being a part of communities, having a social media presence, making sure that we gave great content. Social, it's not about sales, right? So making sure that we were adding value through blog posts, through our Facebook posts. Like years ago, we still do have over 200,000 Facebook fans. But back when nobody had that, we had that because we really prioritized building community, because it's good for business, it's good for our market, and it's a heck of a lot of fun.
So this will bring me to a question. In your opinion, how can businesses better support families and communities in today's world?
How can businesses? Well, so a business like mine, or a business that somebody
like
who's
yourself,
going to work for.
Yeah.
Well, I think there are a lot of things that you can do. And one of the lovely things about being an entrepreneur is that you get to build a company based on a culture that you want. So, I mean, for example, let people work from home, right? I learned early on, like we learned as co-founders, that we could be highly productive at unusual times and unusual places. They joked about, play dates and business plans being done at the same time and that sort of thing. So, make sure we've always been focused on people getting their results done, not just sitting in a chair in an office pretending to be working. If you meet your goals, that's what we care about. We don't want somebody to get a call from their school because their kid's sick and not be able to go get them. Goodness, like stay at home that day if you have a sick kid, as long as you get your work done, right? That's all we care about. So I think there's a bunch of things that can be done. Again, having some flexibility, being communicative, letting personal days, focusing on results, being transparent about pay. There are a lot of things that women can be doing. And I actually had Allison from Moms at Work on one of my LinkedIn Lives, and she's somebody worth following. She talks a lot about policy and laws and things that need to be changed to make workplaces more family friendly.
Okay. And my other question that will bring me to is, what role do you believe mentorship plays? A crucial part in the business of a woman who's starting a business.
I think it's really important. I have a formal mentor relationship through the forum every year for probably the last, I don't even know how many years. And I have some informal ones. And of course, I'm speaking at a university next week. I will do, I think mentorship is super important. I think having a mentor in those early days is key. You might as well learn from what they've learned. They've had access to other people, other businesses. It's key. They can be a really great coach. And I think as you gain your experience and you have something to share, I think it's your duty to do that. I think, once you have something to share and you can add value and make somebody else's life easier. The other thing too is I feel like I learned so much from my mentees. I learned so much about what's going on out there, the challenges they're facing now, the impact of tech, so many interesting things. So that mentor-mentee relationship is a very win-win for both people involved.
I love that. And I agree, because I myself too, I think in the beginning when I started my business, is everything was me, I can do everything. And then it just becomes so overwhelming that having that someone not, tell you what to do, but to not hold your hand, but almost like hold your hand and be like, listen, give you those feedbacks, give you this kind of like, okay, what can you do next? Which direction to kind of go? Because sometimes we get so lost in
100%.
That
There's a lot to be done. And I think you make a good point when you're saying, like, not necessarily hand holding, but almost like an accountability person.
Yeah.
Right? Like somebody, because I know my mentee kind of right now owes me a couple of things. I message her. I'm like, hey, are you stuck on those? Because I haven't received them yet. So sometimes just somebody, especially because when you're working alone and you're only accountable to yourself, you can cut yourself some slack. Whereas for me, who had co-founders, the accountability was a little bit higher because when we would have a meeting with the four of us, we all had stuff to report on and we were
Right.
accountable to each other, right?
Yeah.
So if you are a solo entrepreneur, not only can it be lonely, so it's good to have a mentor, but it's good to have a little bit of an accountability coach as well.
Yeah. Sometimes you'll sit on the couch and
Yeah.
binge watch the Netflix and you're like, nope, someone
There's
needs
so
to
many
like
distractions,
slap you.
especially
And
if you're,
oh yeah.
especially if you're a parent. I mean, there's always something to be done. There's
No, I
always
agree.
something to be done, right?
Absolutely.
So,
Especially when you oh yeah. I
oh,
totally get it.
100%. Yeah.
Yes. Julie, how
Yes.
can people reach you? If you
Okay.
are
So,
free, give us information, please.
for sure. You know what? All of my information you can find at mabelslabels.com/JulieCole. From there, you can see my media reel. You can order my book. You can follow me on socials. You can do all the things. So that's probably the best place to find me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Insta. I'm all the places.
Perfect. And
Yeah.
I personally love your product. I've bought it for many, many years. I still have the stickers, even though my kids are 18, almost
Love it.
16 and 12.
Oh my
The
goodness.
12-year-old still use it, but you
Yeah.
know what he did? He cut out the little bonhomme there, the
Icon.
little, so
Yeah,
he
well, you know
only
what?
uses his name.
As our kids have aged too, we have made more like mature, and we even have seniors who order, right, who are going to
Yeah.
residential care. But my kids at university have them. My older kids at camp, and we've got a lot of nice designs now for older kids too, and
Yeah.
tweens, and tie dye, and camo, and lots of fun stuff.
Oh,
And we
that's
also have
great.
like this nostalgic baby pack that's
Oh,
adorable. So
nice.
definitely, whoever's listening, watching, check out mabelslabels.com and have some fun having a look at all the new and cool designs we have.
2 thumbs up for sure. Thank you so much, Julie. I really appreciate your conversation. Lots of learning, and we'll stay in touch.
Thanks, Alex.
You're welcome.